Astral Foods, as the largest integrated poultry producer in South Africa, comprises three important divisions. We have a feed division within the group, supplying animal feed not only to an internal market but to an external market as well. That brand, Meadow Feeds, well known in the industry. Meadow Feeds was established in 1942. It's a long-standing, trusted animal feed brand in the South African feed and poultry industry. We then have a agriculture division within the group. Under that group we have our breeding operations, so there we farm with 4 generations of birds, all the way down from your great-grandparents to the broilers that we rear and ultimately supply the consumer in finished goods at the end of the day. The agriculture division is responsible for all the farming operations, and that is really the heartbeat of the company. That is where we aim to optimize the opportunities that are available in the broiler, the genetic potential of the broiler, and produce chicken for the South African consumer at best cost possible. We then have a third leg to the business. That's our commercial division. That's the house really of our consumer brands, well-known brands in Festive, Goldi, County Fair, Mountain Valley. Maybe just quickly just take a step back. We farm with the Ross bird or Ross genetics, so that's the broiler that we farm with through the agriculture division, the Ross broiler, into our processing plants at live weight of around 1.85 kilos and an age of 32 to 33 days. That bird is then processed into the consumer brands that I've mentioned earlier on. So in total, we have capacity to produce 6.2 million birds a week. In November last year, we were producing around 6 million birds a week for the South African market. That's taken a small setback with the load shedding and water supply issues that we've endured over the past 6 months, but geared up to produce throughout the integration just over 6 million birds a week. Look, AVi stems from membership of the South African Poultry Association. It's an industry organization. We represent the poultry producers and the members in all the relevant activities that the association undertakes. Probably the most important of those is negotiating with all stakeholders, including government. I think you've seen from the presentations and the discussions over the 2 days, large amount of focus going into how we can sustainably take this business forward, and with a lot of emphasis as well, not only on service delivery but on the trade measures that are important to the poultry industry at large. A big topic is the poultry sector master plan that was negotiated with a number of stakeholders, including government there again, and that's an important part of what all the business or the activities that the association undertakes at the moment. The South African industry, poultry industry, over the past 18 months has been faced with a number of challenges impacting bottom line and margins in the broiler industry. And on that same vein, we can speak of the table egg industry as well. We've seen record high feed input costs into the industry, peaking in December last year with record high coarse grain prices in maize and soybeans. That driven up on the back of global as well as local factors. So South Africa trades a local bourse, but that bourse is impacted by what happens on the global front with maize, corn, and various major corn producing countries around the world have seen supply shrink on the back of various factors influencing their growing areas, such as drought, drier weather in North America and Brazil. So the supply demand imbalance has affected the prices of raw materials around the world, and of course with the weakening in the local currency as well, we've seen an impact on pricing. We do have to say though that South Africa's seen 4 very good maize crops in a row, producing excess maize in relation to what we actually consume in the country. So we've had surpluses available for export, which is a good thing for the country, in primary agricultural production in South Africa. But we certainly haven't been trading local fundamentals on the maize price. So record high input costs, and then on the back of that, unfortunately, from September last year, we had the service delivery challenges. Particularly here, we're talking about load shedding with the continued day in and day out blackouts affecting producers to varying degrees. It depended geographically where you're located in the country, but that's had a massive impact on input costs into the industry, which were already seeing margins under severe pressure. So escalating energy bill on fuels, diesel, LPG, and of course then there's the disease challenges that one needs to speak about as well, that don't only affect us in South Africa, but are also affecting global poultry production, and there I speak specifically about highly pathogenic avian influenza. Future challenges in the poultry industry, locally obviously those are what we've already mentioned. I mean, we need a sustainable, secure supply of power and water to produce poultry in South Africa, even if that means that producers have to some degree take themselves off the grid. There will always be a base requirement for power and obviously water from the authorities, but I think a lot of producers are making plans to take themselves off the grid to a degree so that they're not completely reliant on the supplies of electricity and water from Eskom and the various water boards. Let's put that aside for now. You need basic services. I think that we acknowledge and we've said. But in order for us to be sustainable and competitive globally, we also need to make sure we're an efficient producer of chicken. Technically, South Africa is a very efficient producer of chicken. We're up there amongst the top 10% in the world. That was spoken about this morning by the Bureau of Food and Agricultural Policy. They, every second to third year, update and benchmark the South African industry on an international scale, and we do compete efficiently with those poultry producers around the globe. Where we don't compete, particularly with US and Brazil, is on a cost basis. Their input costs are far lower than ours. Europe, on the other hand, we're probably equal to their on a competitive scale, equal to them or slightly better than Europe. But we obviously globally have to compete on a cost basis if we want to survive. Otherwise you'll see a flood of imports into the country, and never mind that, any export opportunities that are there just won't materialize. So the business environment has external challenges, and those were spoken of by Dr. Mario Pence this morning from Cargill. He spoke of external business challenges, but he reminded us all of the internal business challenges as well, which means that ultimately in all of our businesses as producers we have a responsibility to go and focus on that which matters and which is under our control and influences the business success or not of an organization. And there's an endless list of what we need to focus on as poultry producers, make sure those are intact and in place, and ensure the long-term survival of the industry and of our businesses alike. We want to be globally competitive. The industry right now, with the challenges it's faced both from an external source, primarily is not globally competitive on a cost basis. And if we wish to export product, we have to do something about all these challenges facing the business. On the positive side, chicken, poultry is an affordable and healthy protein source. We're in the right space. Let's produce chicken. Let's produce it locally. Let's support local poultry farmers, local consumption of locally produced chicken, and we will then ensure food security for the country.